You know, you've always heard about Patsy Cline dying in the plane crash, but there were 3 other people there with her.
This is the exact spot where Hawkshaw, Hawkins, Patsy Cline, Cowboy Copas, and Randy Hughes were killed exactly 50 years ago. Not much has changed in these woods, with the exception of the stone monument.
I'm Janet Higdon. I'm a reporter for the Camden Chronicle.
How old were you 50 years ago? I know we're not supposed to ask that, but...
I was 10.
You were 10. Tell me about it.
Well, I was too young to be a country music fan at the time, but my mom was. So she drug me out of bed and brought me over here to the site, and I remember the long lines of cars. I remember the long walk trying to get to the site, and this was before they put up tape or anything. They let just anybody in. There was a lot of clothing hanging from trees. It was a gruesome sight. There was still some fire.
And just anybody could walk up to it?
The site was full. I mean, the cars were lined up down the road for miles.
It's something that wouldn't happen today?
No. The cars might line up, but they wouldn't get down there.
Did you have any idea the impact as a 10-year-old of how important this was?
No, but it made an impact on me, something I'll never forget.
Even though you say there was a lot of people there, in the grand scheme of things, as we look back at history, there was really just a few people there, and you were one of them that was able to be at that site on that historic day. Is that something that you ever think about?
As I get older, yes. I think about the fact that I was there, and there's so few people today that will admit to being there.
What kind of impact did it have on the community over the past 5 decades?
Well, it's sort of put Camden on the map, more or less. I didn't live in the Camden community at the time. I lived in Brewston. But I now live on the same road that the crash happened, about a mile from it.
Really?
Even though it was a terrible tragedy that happened here, over the years there have been thousands of fans that have made the visit to Camden and Benton County to see the location where the plane crash happened. And there are many that are still around that remember going to the plane crash, even as young people. As children, they remember going out there. You know, it was a lot different. Back then, you could go, I think, as some of the newspaper articles state, there were thousands of people that went out to the crash site. Of course, that would not happen today.
That plane could have come down anywhere. You know, Camden had no choice of where it came down. For it to come down here, again, try to sum up its impact 50 years later.
Well, again, it's a horrible, horrible thing that happened, and so many lives were touched, not only their families, but their fans over the years, and for us to have to be the place that it happened, it's our job to memorialize and to honor these people that lost their lives here.
Mandy, you've been so associated with Patsy Cline. Now as we come to the 50th anniversary, what do you think?
Well, it's been 50 years since she passed away, and her music is still just as timeless as ever. It still sounds fresh, and I think you know, all the artists when they died, they left us wanting more. And it wasn't just Patsy and the Plane; it was Cowboy Copas and Hawkshaw, Hawkins and Randy Hughes, and of course, Cowboy Copas and Hawkshaw Hawkins had a big career in the 50s and 60s, and Randy Hughes was a very successful session guitarist and manager. So it was a big loss.
Have you been to the site?
I never have.
You never have? This will be your first time?
No, first time.
Wow. Well, what do you think you'll be going through? What kind of feeling?
Well, this is a good reason to go because it's the 50th anniversary, but I guess I didn't want to go before because I just thought it would make me feel too sad, and I'm sure it's going to be very emotional. I don't exactly know how I'm going to feel, but It's just such a tragic loss, and you know, they were all so young. You know, Patsy's career was just really starting. She had 2 little babies. Hawkshaw Hawkins, his wife Jean Shepherd, was pregnant, and you know, it's just so senseless. The whole thing was very senseless.
They were very young. They were in the prime of their careers, some barely starting. You know, when you think how young they were and you think how old we are, you think, wow, that was really, and it was a huge tragedy for not only their families, of course, but for the entire country music world.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you know, I think people haven't gotten enough. You know, that they're. Anytime someone dies young like that, it kind of makes it seem mysterious and kind of intriguing.
Cowboy Copas is buried here at the Forest Lawn Cemetery in Nashville, side by side with the grave of Randy Hughes. And just a few steps away, the 4th member of that plane crash 50 years ago, you'll find the grave of Hawkshaw Hawkins.
I think that we need to commemorate their lives. All of them were young when this tragedy happened. I think that we owe it to their memory, to preserve the memory, and to teach our young people, our young citizens, about the heritage of country music.
When you tell people where you're from, that's one of the things that comes up. Go ahead.
A lot of people do not even realize that that tragedy happened in our county. A lot of people are not aware of it.
Where were you 50 years ago?
I wasn't born 50 years ago, unfortunately, but my mother and my father told me stories. They went out there actually the mid-morning after the crash. What my mother and dad seemed to remember most were all the beautiful clothes, and my mother said headscarves with rhinestones in them hanging on the trees, and a pair of red petticoats, because the wind was blowing and clothes were dangling from the trees. That's what my mother remembered. My mother was born and raised here, her and my father both.
This music lives on, and 50 years later, I mean, I think it says a lot that we're still listening to their music, and I think it'll span the test of time. I mean, it already has, but I think 50 years from now, we'll still be caring about Patsy Cline and Cowboy Copas and Hawkshaw.